Hi everyone, welcome to my talk on the 5 steps to data mesh nirvana. In this talk, along with my introduction, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we found this company, Metaphor, and the principles, touch base on the principles of data mesh, and what is a typical role of a catalog to do with data mesh, and what is the learnings we had from like good set of customers who have successfully implemented data mesh at their companies at scale, and what role did a powerful metadata catalog like Metaphor played in achieving that success. So without much ado, a quick intro to myself. I am Pardhu Gunnam. I am the CEO and co-founder of Metaphor Data. We are a modern data catalog company. I'm going to talk a little bit more about there. Before starting this company, I have built like data platforms at AWS and LinkedIn. I've led the last thing at LinkedIn, I've led the metadata team, which as part of the process created a awesome open source project called Data Hub. Me and my team members, core members of the Data Hub creators came out and created Metaphor. So what is Metaphor? Like why there are many data catalogs, and we have built one at LinkedIn as well. So why did we create Metaphor? So often you have seen across like typical catalogs are built for mostly technical audience, and it has like a lot of technical integrations and technical data, but often they lack adoption. So what we did, out of the learnings, what we have seen at building Data Hub at LinkedIn, and like working with other customers, what we have seen is the biggest component, along with all the other aspects of the governance, is the social component, or how you engage people in the data governance process. So what you're seeing here, Metaphor focuses on a core web application or an experience which is very much simplified for not just the non-technical teams like business users or the business analysts, everyone, along with the data personas like data engineers, analytics engineers, or data analysts, et cetera. Along with this, we also like believe strongly in serving the metadata where it is required, providing the necessary insights in where you are actually using the data. For example, Power BI dashboards, Snowflake consoles, or notebooks, or any of the other aspects where you are actually directly interacting with the data. Then those important metadata updates like the descriptions or changes that are happening to the data or the data quality issues, everything have to be surfaced then and there itself as an embedded experience. The third principle, what we believe was like a key important aspect, was embedding into your natural workflows. In the last like decade, like Slack and Teams, these kind of communication channels have been extremely instrumental in utilizing the data on a day-to-day basis. So why should you build a separate experience outside in a web catalog? So we started embedding directly into those experiences as well, and engaging people with the catalog within your Slack as well. So this talk is a lot more like about like the data mesh aspect. So without much ado, let me jump into those things. So for people who are not familiar with data mesh, this is a concept which got like much more popular in the last 3 years or 4 years. It was introduced and pioneered by Jamak from ThoughtWorks back then, and this is quite familiar for like many organizations right now. So I don't want to do like a deep dive. There are an excellent set of videos online by Jamak herself, like explaining the principles, like the thought process behind it, how to implement, et cetera, as well. And I'm going to just touch base on the top 4 principles of data mesh here. So data mesh is built on the first principle, domain-driven data ownership. What does this mean? So how you have divided your organization into various business groups and like logical like organizations, like for example, marketing, customer success, or orders, or payments, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to also think about your data organization similar way. You divide your entire data instead of like a single like linear stack. Like you start dividing that into like different domains, and like give the responsibility or the ownership of this to the specific like domain owners aligned to these businesses as well. The second one, instead of thinking data as just as an asset, start thinking about data as a product. So this brings like a lot of principles of how you typical like create like products and like and think about supporting them and like maintaining the quality and responsibility the same way you think of data as a product. So you have both now internal customers for your product and external customers for your product as well. Self-service infrastructure as a platform. So once you start dividing these teams into like dividing the responsibilities with according to the domains, you also enable or empower them with capabilities to serve your infrastructure as a platform. So they make like to drive their responsibility. They also like you as a data team, you give them enough power to operate on the infrastructure. As you are federating all the responsibilities, you are also federating a lot of decisions to your domain teams. So with any like great power comes like great responsibility. So as a governance team or as a data team, core data team, as you are empowering them, it's also extremely important to make sure these domains are well governed to ensure the integrity of the data, ensure the security of the data and compliance of the data. So how do you organize all these things? Like it is a simpler concept on simpler 4 pillars of the data mesh on which the entire thing is built around. So let's actually take a look at what is data, what is the role of a catalog in enabling these data mesh principles inside your organization and how to make it successful. So there are many use cases for a data catalog which you are all familiar by now, but most important things in my opinion in case of data mesh are these 4. First one, search and discovery. You need to find all your assets, you need to understand them, what exists, what doesn't exist, how to create, etc. as well. So the source of truth. Typically catalogs are not just like listing of information, but they're also aggregating information from various sources. So they kind of like an aggregator and act as a source of truth. Sometimes I call it reflection of truth, but they are practically your sources of truth for all your important metadata for your data mesh. And as they are acting as a source of truth, there are people coming to the catalog. There are various personas engaging with the catalog. The catalog needs to give enough collaborating capabilities for them to operate the data mesh across the organization. This can be in the form of like questions they ask or documentation, impact analysis, any kind of like things that exchange as interactions between the people and these personas. Those all collaboration comes in through the catalog as well. And the last but not least, the visibility and monitoring aspect. Now that you have all these personas engaging with your data products and domains through the catalog, as a data governance team or as a various owners or consumers, you need to understand who is using what is the most popular one, and what is the quality of it, and also like holistically monitor the health of all these things into a single place, the activity into single place, etc. as well. Some people also call it the ROI of these data products, etc., all in one place. So what does this mean? Like these are the very broad use cases. Let's break them down and like look at like the exact 5 steps, which in my opinion have what resulted in the most successful adoption of data mesh in bigger organizations. So these are the 5 steps which I will dig in much deeper. The first one is how do you define the domains and subdomains? How do you federate as a governance team, how do you federate the responsibilities across the organizations, across the domains? And as producers of these data products in these domains, how do you manage them effectively? And from a consumer perspective, how do you understand this? How do you leverage these data products, and how do you collaborate with other members of this organization? And the most important thing for all these people to be successful a good success measure is like adoption across your organization. How do you drive adoption of data mesh, and how do you drive adoption of these principles across your organization successfully? So let's go to the first one, define. So what do you do? So you have decided that your data is divided into various domains. You need to come up with a plan, logical structure for your data, logical groupings. This can be typically aligned to your businesses or sub-organizations or products, et cetera, like whatever makes logical in terms of the size and grouping, et cetera, according to your business, your organization. You should start dividing them and reorganizing them, et cetera. So once they are created, these should be searchable and available for discoverable for any members of your organization easily, all in one place. And once they find that, it should lot of important metadata like your ownership, your data documentation, or understanding the data products, domains, everything should be all in available in the data catalog for understanding this further and can easily start using them. If you are familiar with the concept of data contracts pioneered by our friend Chad Sanderson, so you need to also start, if you have any data contracts defined, et cetera, to these data products or domains, you need to also make that information available in this place. So anything that makes it successful defining these places, like defining all this data, you need to kind of make it available through the catalog. The second one, as governance team, now you want to start federating the ownership of these domains and making sure these are successful. So what is important to you? So for the governance to be successful, you don't want to do it manually for sure. You are trying to scale it across various domains, sometimes tens of domains, sometimes hundreds of domains, depends upon complexity of your organization. So one of our largest customer in telecom, who have adopted data mesh, leveraged, for example, DBT to start defining their projects, aligning, segregating their huge projects into domain-based projects. So every domain has its own DBT project, and they own the DBT models within that, and understand maintenance of those things, et cetera. So what they did, they have enforced using the metadata tags and metadata information. They have enforced certain policies of metadata directly in the DBT at the time of creation. So they have, this is what we call as governance as code. You push the governance as much as possible close to the source of creation of these models and source of influencing the data what is underneath it. So you can enforce it at the time of CI/CD pipelines. You're making sure all the governance rules are met, or if not, either you can block it or report it, et cetera, as well. As you can see, these governed tags and this governed information should be available flowing into the catalog and available across for all your consumers of these products, et cetera, as well. And once you enable this across all the domains and you make it an operational template, you need to understand the reporting. So as a governance team, you need to be able to capable to monitor these domains, how well they're performing, which of them are sticking to the rules, which of them are not following, and what is the coverage of support, what is the coverage of for example, documentation, et cetera. So what this essentially enables the central team or the governance team is to monitor the data governance across these domains and ensure that they're making it maintaining it healthy. The catalog should holistically provide all of this information and make this monitoring extremely easy for the governance team. Then comes, let's take a look at the data producers, who are trying to manage these domains on their own with the help of the governance team. So at the same, these coverage metrics, et cetera, they should also be available for those people within their domain, how well their domain is performing, where are the bottlenecks, or where do they need to fix issues. They need to understand where do they need to focus their efforts, et cetera. So this is also a catalog should also provide them abilities to provide domain-specific documentation, domain-specific use cases, et cetera, all are defined into all in one place, which can be available for their data product consumers or their data product like dependencies downstream, etc. as well. And when they understand what are the within the domain or across the domains, they need to understand who are the people depending on them, and if they're planning to make any changes, how does it impact them, how do they need to communicate to them, etc. as well. And if they need to notify them, then they need to start sending, they should be able to kind of send very targeted notifications to these people, giving them enough heads up. Very typical, like how you think about your product documentation and your product communications when you have like a bunch of customers depending on you. Like for example, how does it impact, what are the migrations that are coming, what are the changes, etc., giving them enough heads up, etc. as well. So all those like communication workflows and impact workflows should be right away available through the data catalog for the people who are managing these data assets. Let's take a look at the consumer side of the story. So if you are coming to a data catalog like Metaphor for understanding like what are the data products available, it should be easily navigatable, just give you a very specific understanding of like what is this domain, what is these products, and how do I interact with them, how do I leverage them. And very typical, like you have seen the biggest challenge for catalogs or any technical documentation, it's most of the times written from the perspective of how they are created, right, why they are created. A good example would be like, what do you define for like a particular column? Oh, it's an ID. ID represents a customer ID coming from an app. But from a consumer perspective, the documentation may be very different. It depends upon your use case. So you are dealing with like bunch of IDs coming from different products and things. So you need to understand what are you going to use it for. It might be totally different use case for a salesperson, sales ops person versus a marketing ops person. The same ID can be used like very differently for their use cases, et cetera, as well. So the difference for a customer, the difference for a user, et cetera, as well. So all this institutional knowledge, like how you use it and things from a consumer perspective, has to be captured in those domains and data products, helping the specific roles like consumers to see, to understand how to build use cases around data products. And if they have further questions, like they need to collaborate with other powered users in these domains or the data producers who have created these products very easily without like having to jump like bunch of hoops around Jiras and opening ServiceNow tickets, et cetera, as well. So the collaboration has to be seamless, and the catalog should enable that. And like many other like technical aspects, for example, before you start making decisions using these data products, if you ever have if you ever need to make sure it is coming from the right source. For example, a sales ops person looking at a dashboard, a salesperson looking at a dashboard created by a sales ops person, they also like want to make sure the data is actually coming from Salesforce and it is aligned to what they are communicating to the customer or to their VP of sales, et cetera, as well. So the provenance of the data, et cetera, has to be extremely like simple to understand, and the data product should like also provide that information through the catalog. The last most, and in my opinion, the most important piece is how do you drive adoption of using all this information through a catalog and the aspects of data mesh across your organization. There is no point in creating all these data products and their domains, et cetera, but no one actually understands them and try to use them. They are like stale products. So what we did with Metaphor, for example, is we took all the experiences across like these different personas and made it extremely personalized. It is often what we have found, it's not the amount of information which we give is a problem, but it is the way it is presented. It is the way it is made available for these people. That's the main problem. It is too much information sometimes, which creates a lot of noise or confusion. So based on like understanding which persona you are and what is important to you, we have tailored or personalized the experience extremely well, like within the catalog. And second thing, no one is planning to go for like a specific tool all the time. You are already busy doing a lot of work with the data, with your tool, like with your responding to your specific business problems. Whoever thinks about, oh, let me spend like a lot more time on a catalog. So instead, we take a catalog and made that experience like embedded into your natural workflows and make it available everywhere. What does it mean? Like if you're working in Slack, if you're having a conversation with your teammates, etc., make that metadata available there. Or if you're looking at a Power BI dashboard and doing some analysis, like and doing some reporting, etc., make that metadata available there. Or if you are querying data in a Snowflake console, make it available there. So make it extremely available and make easy to work with a catalog, and at the same time, make it easy for you to kind of contribute back on the knowledge what you have for the benefit of others. While doing that, we also help you to kind of like gain that recognition and incentivize you to work and help your colleagues much better, just building a better data culture. So in my opinion, like for any of these governance solutions, like be it data mesh or not, to be extremely successful, there are three aspects. One, the technology which is supporting it, easy integration, understanding your column level lineage, usage, etc., all of this information. The process of governance, what do you allow for your organization, what do you not allow, who can change, what can change, how do you communicate, etc. But the most important thing, the people. How do you leverage the relationships of people with the data, their knowledge, etc.? How do you make them embedded into your governance process? So often what I hear about from a lot of engineers or analysts or like even users, they always alienate the governance process. They always think that governance is some top-down initiative which is nothing to do with how they work with the data. So how do you make it part of the process, and how do you make them contributors as governance, making it a team sport rather than a top-down initiative alone? And one good way to do that is making your data catalog actually a social platform for data, for people to kind of interact with it. Just like if you've seen the most popular social platforms, like for example LinkedIn, you see like the knowledge shared across people, how people interact, the influencers, or how people comment and like share their insights, etc. In the same way, encourage the culture of data governance within your organization by making the data catalog experience as a social platform for data itself. So with that being said, I think following these 5 steps, you can definitely take your data mesh game to the next level and make it more adaptable across your organization with the help of catalogs like Metaphor. So once again, you define, you help your data governance team to federate the responsibilities, you help your data producers to manage, and you help your data consumers to collaborate. And with all these aspects, we talked about drive like crazy adoption across your organization. Thank you for attending my talk. And if you have any questions on how Metaphor has successfully done this, definitely come and talk to us. And you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter based on this information. Thank you.